Welcome to Rooted and Unwavering, a podcast and radio show which features leaders from all walks of life in conversations about courageous connectedness. How do we stay connected to our best selves, especially when we are challenged? What becomes possible when we truly stay committed to our own and others' greatness, also when we don't feel it? Join host Hylke Faber, transformational coach, facilitator, and award-winning author of Taming Your Crocodiles, and his guests as they explore leadership greatness in today's episode of Rooted and Unwavering.
Well, welcome to Rooted and Unwavering, episode 61, where we help leaders connect more deeply to their innate potential. I'm your host, Hylke Faber, and I'm here today with Dorothy Lawson, a very accomplished cellist and amazing human being that I have the privilege to speak with today. Dorothy, how are you today?
I am very well, thank you. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored that anyone will pay any attention to what I've learned. So thank you.
Well, I'm paying attention, and many people will pay attention, I think, after we hear from you. So before we learn more about Dorothy and her path, I'm going to share a little bit about Rooted and Unwavering, as we do in all of these episodes, to center and ground ourselves, and how to listen to these episodes, and why even do this project of Rooted and Unwavering. And today I'd like to focus more about what happens when we sift through the noise of our distractions and we become rooted. And that journey is often quite intense, to let go of a lot of things that can distract us, that get us off track, often having to do with our ego's tendencies to want to be perfect or right or nice to like or whatever it is. And when we sort of sink through and we enter that place of deeper connectedness, there's often a beauty. And being in that place of beauty by ourselves and with others is such an experience that I wish for myself and others, all 8+ billion people on this planet, in terms of how we lead our companies, how we lead our teams. And my sense is the more we know about that being possible, the more we orient our life and leadership to that. I was in a team offsite in the last few days, and I noticed what happens when the egoic noise stops and we start really listening to each other and being together. And humans become these beautiful beings that create these wondrous things, even when we're talking about profit losses and assets and things that we need to do, whatever it is, there's a beauty to that. Today, talking about beauty, we're talking with a musician. And music is such a beautiful connecting force in the universe. Dorothy Lawson comes to us with so much experience. She is the founding cellist and co-artistic director of the alt classical string quartet called ETHEL, which has been around since 1998. It's a lot of years. The group has been at the forefront of contemporary concert music, advocating for the music of our time and place, commissioning new works, writing their own, and building original programs with non-traditional creative partners. For example, I saw Dorothy playing her cello also with a person pretty close to here in the Grand Canyon sometime, together with the person that comes from the original peoples. Bridging separation of cultures and generations and forging human connections across sound and style. At their heart is a very collaborative, connecting ethos and a desire to bring music to help all of us hear each other and thereby potentially understanding each other more clearly. Ethel has been in music for a long time. She's performed with many of the premier concert and music organizations that we know: the Orpheus Chamber Orchestra, the White Oak Dance Project, the Philharmonic Virtuoso, the American Symphony Orchestra, the New York Philharmonic, the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, to name a few. She comes from Canada. She studied at the University of Toronto, the Vienna Academy, and the Juilliard School. and she's taught for 20 years in the preparatory division of the Men's College at the New School in New York City. And the quartet ETHEL holds residences at Denison University in Ohio, as well as the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I've had the privilege of speaking with ETHEL once before this podcast, and I was introduced to her by a friend who described her as this magnificent human being that is so generative and so generous, and that is what I experienced from her, a person that brings so much humility, so much curiosity, and so much dedication to her craft and humans. So welcome, Dorothy. To have you here. Tell us about what you have learned about connectedness in your life.
Yes, thank you. Please let me know if my connection gets in any way difficult from your end. I am right now. I'm in Thailand, and my connection might be a little soft compared to what we get in America. What I have learned, the wisdom that people will use to express themselves, their hearts through music, and their often their vulnerability, their willingness to share from such a deep part of themselves is something that uh, you have to treat very, very with great honor, with great respect, when you come close, when you start to try to share music, when you hope to build music together, maybe find a common, common thread or a common language. We have worked a lot actually with musicians from various Native American cultures. The very first time we did was at the Grand Canyon, in the Grand Canyon Music Festival, as part of a program that they've been running for about, wow, I think it's 25 years. They started it at the Millennium, and they call it the Native American Composers Apprenticeship Project. Uh, and me and my group, we were the performing artists of that program for 10 years, where we would travel always out to the mostly Navajo high schools around the Grand Canyon, also Hopi and Pima. And what we learned in doing that shifted our entire purpose with music. One of the things that became kind of we could not have predicted, but became clear, was that the people of these cultures who had no history of literate skill or literate technology with music, they wouldn't write it down. Why would you? They would make it, they would share it with each other, they would memorize it very quickly, very easily. So they didn't need the written medium. But this program was developed to give them some experience, and the idea was to make it available, make their music available to people more widely, people from our cultures. So we were there to play it for them, show them how we would understand it, give them a chance to explain better what they really wanted to hear, and then offer them some advice about what would make it clearer for us. But as you can imagine, it was also a biofeedback, because what became very, very clear was the world that we were carrying around, the assumptions we would make about the sound that they might want to hear in this music. And we were wrong a lot of the time. We were, we would show them how, coming from New York City, we could make this so exciting, and we could, jazz it up, make it very, very entertaining. And they looked at us with some horror, actually, kind of saying, no, 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 quieter, slower, calmer. They were writing beautiful whole music from the heart. They were writing songs and stories they needed to share with other people. They weren't writing entertainment music or something to catch somebody's attention or draw some, praise, make somebody admire them. They were writing things that mattered to them fundamentally, appreciations to their grandmothers. And in for example, in Navajo culture, the grandmother is really the center of the family, and how much their grandmothers meant to them. And when they had this opportunity to write music for outsiders to hear and perform for them, this was one of the most important things for them to say. And so we started to realize, how kind of unsympathetic we were being, in assuming that our skills would be really useful or important to them, and we started to calm that down. And we discovered the beauty of patience, the beauty of just letting the music speak for itself, letting it emerge in its own time, which shifted how we were playing everything, all the music from our own world, and it changed what we thought we were doing, as musicians.
So talk a bit more about what was your personal experience in that. So there you were coming from New York City with all these accolades and techniques and background behind you, and you're going into this place that's very barren. From the times I visited, looks very barren to me. And you meet with these kids and people that want to talk to you about music. And you talked about this transition that the group went through from all kinds of ways to entertain to actually listening and bringing forth what's most fundamental. So tell us a little bit more about what was your tell us about a moment in your own experience, and what was it like within Dorothy to have that awareness, or how did that awareness take place? Because I'm sure it wasn't like that, or maybe it was.
No. Well, well, part of that, the whole beautiful constellation of relationships that made that work available for us, that brought it to us, was very, very long friendship. This was somebody I had known, one of my first friends when I moved to New York City back in the early 80s, and she and her husband had founded this festival. They had been traveling to the Grand Canyon every year for already, at the millennium, already 15 years or more. And so she was able to, we spent hours together in these long drives around Navajo Nation, from one school to another, like 5-hour drives, 6-hour drives. And we spent a lot of time talking about it and her experience. What she shared with me, which really did bring some of this into focus, was that when they had first traveled to Navajo Nation, they would take their music to the schools and play for assemblies, but the students were still so traditional they had been, the elders had kept the outside culture really outside, really at bay. They didn't allow television or movies, and these students had such traditional lives that even when these visitors would play our music, Mozart or something, play them this music, they would bow their heads and be very, very, very quiet while responding. The teachers would say, "Oh, they loved it. They want to talk to you," but they would see nothing but these averted eyes, because in their culture, it would have been regarded as unforgivably unashamed to look a stranger straight in the eyes. You wouldn't do that. So we came along enough after that. The elders had allowed television, movies, and the internet, and so the students we were working with had grown up with a combination. And we were dealing really with the first teenagers to emerge out of that. And it was clear, first of all, that they were very comfortable with us. They could, look at us and talk to us directly. Everything was very, very natural. But they could also talk to us about their own culture. They hadn't lost the culture. They had become a kind of a hybrid. They had become a new human resource where they could understand both.
Mm-hmm.
And this program of writing music that could cross the boundaries and leave the culture, move out into the outside world. And we did bring a certain amount of this music to our own audiences. One of the most significant things about it that we realized was that these students, without the literate experience of music, were writing from the heart. And we never needed to tell them anything about how to express themselves in music. They speak music. When we work with students the same age in our own culture, they have been so fascinated by the technology of the writing. They get driven to do things of incredible complexity, just to do it, just to show they can. And they lose track. There's actually no message inside. They're not speaking music. They're just doing the technology. And so we more often would talk to students in our culture about finding the music, writing something that other people could respond to. With working with the people of the oral cultures, this was not necessary. And
So,
yeah.
When I'm so struck by this distinction that you're making, like the Navajo in a way taught you about music from the heart that was not pre-scripted based on all kinds of techniques that then in other culture, the dominant culture becomes a performance art. So tell us a bit about your own journey with that, because you've been in music for decades, right? And so can you tell us about what is the experience for you when, I assume you've also been in the performance paradigm at some point, and then when you shift to really playing music from the heart? Like, can you tell us about the difference? And maybe you can think about an experience you've had playing music or giving a concert where you were either or, maybe even made that bridge. I'm very curious about that, because I think that transition of expressing from the script versus the heart, and maybe there's an integration of those that's possible, is, I think, applicable to any part of life. Whether it's leading a team, whether it's having a conversation with a friend, whether it's going into this moment. Are you coming from your heart? Are you coming from a script? So tell us about that for you in music.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, over years and years, uh, following these inspirations and uh, really, we had realized even when we began as advocates for music of our own culture, uh, where we started in New York was, is a hotbed of very creative people, a constant flow of ideas from all over the world, um, and and yet at the time that we began back in, right at around the millennium, 1998, uh, there had been a very strong hegemony about the kind of music that would be allowed as real concert music. We and what we realized when we began was that we were part of a cohort, a group of creative people who had grown up with the natural musics of pop, rock, jazz, world music, and yet these had been kept out of the concert environment. You played Western classical music when you were in front of the classical audience, and we had this was one of those first but very significant self definitions, was that we would champion any music that we ourselves enjoyed, that we ourselves responded to, and that we weren't making a political case about whether this should be concert music, but it seemed crazy if it wasn't. We certainly had exactly the same, credentials as all the artists who are playing in Carnegie Hall and play. In fact, we played in Carnegie Hall. We had the right credentials, but the kind of music that we wanted to present had not yet been allowed. At the same time, right around then, at the end of the 20th century, the economy under the classical music world was petering out. It was just fragmenting. People couldn't sell their tickets, they couldn't sell the theaters. And that was just simple. They needed to find something else. They wanted to connect with a younger audience. They wanted to reinvigorate the attendance. So seeing a group like ours who had the sort of the classical equipment, the string quartet, with the right credentials from Juilliard, but playing music that was more relevant to younger people, they thought, oh, let's use that. That makes sense. Why don't we just try that? And so we got our big opportunity to go out with big management, picked us up, sent us all over the country, gave us the chance to perform, and got us started. So we had been, right from the beginning, we had been questioning what, why not? Why not pop, rock, jazz? Why not? It's great music. It's just as good, just as creative, just wasn't written for those instruments. But in our hands, we could play it with those instruments. It seemed like such a simple breakthrough, but it took some guts, and then of course it really became a habit. if we in fact, even now, if we see that we have drawn a barrier around a style or a shape of music, so we do respect that we have personal, preferences, that we won't be really good advocates for music we don't personally enjoy. So that's fine. We own that. If we like something, we'll give it a try.
Yeah.
And then we will ask, why not? Why don't we try that? Let's put it out there, And so we've been able to build relationships. We have a long collaboration with a flute player from the Taos Pueblo. We have Robert Mirabal. We have a beautiful collaboration with a violinist, a traditional but also classically trained violinist from Lebanon, Leal Shakesh. We have a great program we've built with the African American flute player Alison Loggins Hall, who also, she's got a tremendous background with both classical music but also her own electronica. And we continue, to look for opportunities to uh, to bring presenters, bring people with audiences like ours into closer contact with musicians from cultures they might not have paid any attention to. And most of them find it really thrilling and very useful, because it brings more of their communities closer together. And we all hope that will produce better results for everybody.
So what's that feeling that happens when you're able to play what you love and to advocate for it and to break out of this box of what you're supposed to do and actually integrate with the other forms of music? What is that feeling, Dorothy?
Oh, joy. It's ecstatic. It's really, it's ecstasy in a lot of ways. Me personally, I feel that's my art form. Of course, I've spent incredible, years and years, lots of time building the skill to play a cello, to make the music and do it well, do it beautifully for the audience, so that nobody is in any anxiety about whether or not the music will be good or it will be beautiful. So the skill, the years of both creating and acquiring music, an original repertoire, the music that we're really the ones who play it. There aren't that many other groups that play our music. There are some. So there's the music, there's the skill, there's your own health, just bringing yourself to that moment of presentation, the moment of performance, the moment of contact with the audience. And then there's the audience themselves. Who are they today? Even the same people would be different if they came back tomorrow. So we have this moment together with this music, this equipment, this group. And my art form is trying to turn that into magic. Just the moment. My art form is the moment. The music is a vehicle, the cello is a vehicle, everything else gets us there. But the synthesis is the art form.
So I want to learn more about this. How do you work with the moment being the magic? How do you work with that as your art form where all the other things are the support and probably the necessary support? This didn't just happen, like all the years of practice. I mean, I'm imagining being a cellist in front of thousands of people and what happens with you. So I want to explore after the break a bit more about how do you, first of all, stay connected. Maybe think about a time where you were in the middle of a concert and things didn't go so well. You felt that, ooh, the magic is not here. Maybe talk to us about a moment like that, and how do you work through that? Because I think that is very applicable to anyone in any part of life, whether they're on a stage or reading a book or talking to their partner or working with the team. Or how do we, when we lost it, how do we come back? We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back to this conversation with Dorothy Lawson, accomplished a cellist in the ETHEL ensemble, and also a magician of the moment, as I'm learning today. I'll see you after the break.
You are listening to Rooted and Unwavering, presented by Growth Leaders Network, the leadership, team, and culture development company. If you would like to learn more about working on connectedness for yourself, your team, or organization, please contact Growth Leaders Network on LinkedIn. And now, back to the show.
So the magic of the moment, Dorothy, we've been talking about that. Just a few things that I've already highlighted for myself as I listened to you this first half hour of our conversation. One is to have the courage to break out of the pattern of what you should be, the prescription, and actually follow your heart and connect from that, and then trust that things will happen. In this case, things did happen. Being willing to have the humility to learn from very unlikely teachers, like children in a school in a very different culture from yours, and letting yourself be touched to let that transform your purpose of playing, whether it's no longer maybe more having an atmosphere of performance and entertainment, and much more bring to the fore that which is core, that which is most important for the children, their grandmothers, for everyone else, maybe something similar or whatever that is, but living from that place of what's most important. And then we conclude our conversation just now where you alluded to being the magician or the magic, not you said, didn't say magician, I said that, the magic of the moment. So tell us about a moment in a concert or performance or experience. I don't know what you call it now anymore, whether you still call it performance or concert. I don't know. The experience where maybe you didn't feel that moment, you didn't feel the magic, and what's that like? And then how do you work with that?
The I on the one hand, I feel that recognizing that there's some kind of a failure to really connect well or get all the way to a kind of a frankness with people is I guess it 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 concerns me, but it doesn't scare me. I guess to some extent I feel like, oh, interesting. Okay. Let's find out about this audience. Let's if you come with curiosity and as you're saying, humility to this very moment, there's no guarantee that you know what anybody needs or wants. We're very, uh, very, hopefully, very honest about being people with our skills, with our tastes, but but we're curious about our audience. And I guess if there's a feeling, I'm trying to think if there's I know the moments that could feel the strangest, where there was the most strangeness between us and the audience, would be where the expectation, it felt like the expectation in the theater, in the audience, was for us to be more more traditional, more play standard classical concert music that they recognize or they were looking forward to, and instead we're playing nothing they know by no composer they've ever heard of, and
how do you feel that how do you feel that in your body when you feel that audience not resonating in that moment? What do you feel?
I feel I think the fact is I actually get very animated. I feel a need to reach out to them. It's almost like I want to hug them. I want to, reach them personally. I want to show them it's okay. We'll give you something special. You don't have to like all of it. In fact, we know you won't, but give us a chance to at least show you that a lot of it is very, very enjoyable, very easy to listen to, very, we are very careful to program an experience for the audience that we know will go through some very, very easily recognized, fun high moments, then maybe through something that's lower and more sustained, possibly a little sadder or a little stranger, and then come back into something that's much more recognizable again. And I think that's kind of our success as a quartet, is having both cultivated a body of work that is concerned with reaching an audience. It's not music for music's sake. It's actually it's designed for a human experience, and it's designed for we prefer human experience that you would enjoy taking home. Not something that will leave you feeling cold and I don't know, just dissociated. We prefer that. That is our nature, and the music we love and we enjoy has very familiar styles in it. A lot of Celtic music, a lot of even, as we said, so Native American colors, a lot of we've written programs based on circus, the old styles of circus music, and we want the audience to be able to connect with it, to find points of recognition, to go, oh, that was fun, and then tell it in a story. Give the concert a storyline that pulls you from one piece to the next, and you learn something about the composer. You learn something about the maybe the occasion when a piece of music was written. I mean, for example, we have an absolutely gorgeous piece of music, which is it's not hard to listen to, but the story is very profound. It's very it lasts in your heart. It was a piece that the composer David Lang, part of the Bang on a Can collaborative, he was present at a wedding where the bride was on her deathbed, and she was surrounded by breathing equipment and heart monitors, and and yet she and her fiancé had decided to get married this way. And he wrote a piece of music about it afterwards, which embodied, in a way, this sort of sense of the dying light and these very gentle but constant sounds in the room, and it was very, very beautiful, very sophisticated piece of music, but requires a sort of a special occasion to present it.
Mm, mm, mm. I love that, and I love how you are speaking about bring the audience with you in the story, recognizable moments, taking them through maybe some stranger dissociating moments, to connect, help them to connect to something that you're trying to convey. Maybe this is this moment in the wedding, in the room with the breathing equipment, and evoke something. Dorothy, I'm curious about something, and I have to ask you this question, which is a little unrelated and yet is related. I'm a musician myself, and one of the things that I worry about in my music and also as a facilitator and as a speaker is those moments where I'm like, ooh, I'm not quite sure I'm hitting it. Now, tell me about whether I'm curious, Dorothy, do you have those moments still? And if maybe if they used, maybe not anymore, maybe they don't happen anymore, I don't know. But if they happen, how do you experience that and how do you work with that?
Ooh. I guess at where I am now, I'm not. I I didn't always have this experience, but in fact, I used to be very concerned with how I would be perceived. You know, how what people would think of me, what they would, you know, if they would admire me, if they would think I had made a mistake. You know, so very yes, I remember going through all of that. But um, I now I feel my job and my, like I say, my art is to be as fully present every moment of that unique experience, that unique constellation, all the everything coming together with an audience, and I will give it everything I can. I'm not in control of all the all the factors, and I do recognize that we're, as performers, we are not in control of how anyone will receive it, how they'll perceive, what they'll experience. But the act of doing everything I can to to demonstrate that I care about you right now. This is
Mm,
all I have to do. This is it,
mm, mm,
and no concert anywhere ever mattered more. This is it. It's vital every single time. And it, of course, it keeps the pleasure in it extremely high. I love what I do. I get to, I get to be on a high with people night after night, and I love it. I love it. Sometimes, I get this. I have to also be thinking about, how is my physique? Am I sitting well? Is my instrument in tune? So there's a certain
mhm,
circuit of diagnostics that you
mhm,
have to do while you're busy, and I try to uh, uh, flow with that, keep flowing, so it
mm.
always comes back. It always comes back to the this way, the outwards.
The
But
outwards.
you do have to, you have to be conscious of the inner atmosphere as well. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm very struck by this, Dorothy. It's like where you took this question about making mistakes or any of that. My sense is that's almost irrelevant. It's
Yeah.
more about the utter dedication to this moment, being of service to this audience, and giving it your all, and that's all that matters. So let me ask you this question, because I do have you ask this question. Do you play a wrong note sometimes?
Occasionally, not
Okay,
many.
not many,
Well,
but occasionally.
yeah,
But
every now
I
and
want
then.
to know. I want to know when that happens. How do you feel?
I try to let it go as fast as I can.
Okay, all right.
Seriously, it's like you as a performer, this is, of course, the discipline is training yourself to keep moving forward in time over all these incredibly intricate gestures and activities. It's like just that is the skill. You have to be able to deliver over a flow over a long period of time. And you don't get hooked on, oh, that note, that one back there is it doesn't
Mm,
matter. In fact, you don't want to pull attention to it. You
mm,
want the audience to be thinking with you, like, oh, the new, oh, listen to this, listen to this.
mm.
If you are the one who gets hooked on it, you're doing everyone a disservice.
The service, yeah.
It's like the audience doesn't want that. An audience does not pay to come and critique you. That's not what they're there for. They're actually appreciating that been you have been blessed to gain the skills, to spend the years that it takes. You've been supported long enough to have the skills that it takes to do this. So they're paying to join you on the ride,
Mm,
and that's so precious. Why would I concern them with, oh, did you notice that note? That note was not what I want. It's not what we wanted. It's not the right note. It's like, all it does is throw everybody off of the experience,
yes.
um, so yeah, I feel that that's really the performing art form is uh, taking other people on a vicarious trip.
So beautiful. To me, to you, this may seem second nature at this time. Like, of course, and in a way, everybody is a performer. Like everybody is a performer in their lives, and uh, not everybody has been blessed or exposed to this discipline of performance and forward flow and all that.
Yeah.
And many people, including parts of my ego, sometimes get stuck in like, oh, I don't know about that piece over there. Let me stay there for a while. And what you're saying is, nah, nah, no, 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 no. This is about the forward moving. This is about engaging the audience. I'm thinking about engaging my teammates, engaging the person I'm speaking with in the beauty we are about to create, the service we're going to be about to
Yeah.
do with each other, as opposed to to evaluating and being in criticism land. I've
Yes.
never heard it said this powerfully, Dorothy. Thank you for that.
Oh,
um,
thank you. Well, I would say also that uh, it's it is, as a performer, it is also easier, when you've been performing for years and years, and you have it's not I think it's hard for people to imagine that, if you have some training as a musician, you've learned how hard it is to master a piece of music, or say, or a whole concert. And what you don't get to experience unless you've had this kind of career is the repetitions, like over years and years and years, the same music, the same pieces, sometimes the same programs, and so it's not just today, it's not just right now, this one time I played. If I missed that note this time, I play it again tomorrow, I play it again next week. And each time I'm trying to do everything. I'm trying to give everything to all, but but it will be different. doesn't matter how good it is, each time will be different, and it doesn't matter how hard you want to do it the same, it's not going to be the same, so you just you welcome that, or it will kind of kill you.
Yes, I get it. You've said a lot about giving your all, Dorothy. How do you give your all?
I can't not. It's
Okay.
like it's wow. It's such a joy. It's I genuinely feel blessed. I feel blessed to be here with you. I feel blessed that anybody would pay attention to this. But when I'm in presence with other people, when I'm in presence with my family, when I'm in presence with an audience, I can't take it casually.
Mm-hmm.
It is life. It is the whole question, and what are you giving? In what with what intensity are you living? Does it really matter? And to me, that's always in your own hands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not waiting for somebody else to tell me that I can live now, or that this concert matters.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it matters to me. It matters that you're there. It matters that um, it matters that my friend Esther is listening. And it's just it's. I feel it's. I think it really does come down to be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change. Just don't wait for someone to authorize you, or invite you, or give you permission. It's like, if you want your life to matter, it's up to you. It does. The moment you decide that it does, it matters. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say to a person to whom giving their all seems maybe not with the outside of reach, but not so feasible right now? Like, I'm thinking about, the woman on her deathbed marrying, as extreme example, or a person
And
sitting in
yet,
a team meeting. Yeah, I'm here. I'm hearing. I just wanna give some color to this, right? So to humanize the experience even more. So to a teammate that sits in a meeting, and their boss is just not getting what they're saying, or we just got a really difficult part of news, whatever that is. So, and we are emotional beings, so then there's an emotional,
yeah.
that. So how do you work what would you say to people who are in those moments of which can cause contraction, to give their all? How do you work with that?
Uh, I do honor that. I recognize that there are many conditions in our human societies, and in our work relationships, where there's a hierarchical understanding, and there's an assumption that someone is more powerful or more important than somebody else. I think it can turn a lot of that around if you look for the ways that your contribution is of service to them, that they need you. You are an important, in a very specific way, a very, and even just as a human factor in their environment. You are important, and you can play an even bigger role in that way by being inspiring, by being, a kind of a light, a bright light to be around. It's very powerful and very attractive. Uh, People will comment to me all the time after concerts, so much energy, so bright, and my it's not because I'm trying, it's because I feel this. I'm putting it out. And it's not because somebody gave me permission. Nobody gave me permission to be this way. In fact, the classical training was something I had to get beyond. I had to get over it, because it was so regimented and built out of these hierarchies of the roles in the music, the kinds of instruments we play, the even the physical presentation, on the stage. And it doesn't mean to be insensitive to people's the social norms, the social conventions in a given place. But even within that, there's a huge amount of space for joy, inspiration, uh, 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 common humanity, common, caring for each other, and people will notice it. They will. They'll benefit from it. They'll want to be around it, and it's. I tell this all the time to music students that when you're hoping to build a career, when you're hoping to move into more jobs or something, it matters. You do have to have your skills. You do have to have the basic skills that people are looking for. After that, they will care much more how they feel when you're around than how excellent you are. If you're excellent, but you make them feel terrible, they don't want you. Nobody wants to work with you. So if you can be a factor of a happier, more cooperative, setting for people, it people want you. They want you around. They will probably give you extra and enhanced opportunities because you make their work easier. You make their lives better.
Beautiful. I could sit in this conversation for hours. I'm experiencing this magic of the presence with you, and thank you for teaching us about this. We're getting towards the end of our conversation, Dorothy. A few things I want to highlight is this: giving our all is not something that needs permission. It is something that we choose. Being a light, choosing to be in that generous space of giving is transcends any idea of self-doubt or what am I doing wrong. And also this level that before the break we talked about being willing to break the constraint and being willing to play what and to be with what actually is here, what's most fundamental, as opposed to what's prescribed. And I think that is something that is applicable to any part of life. And I think that poses a huge invitation to many of us to ask ourselves, which are the prescriptions? Maybe I'm not playing music, but what are the prescriptions at work, in my family life, in my community life that I'm succumbing to? And what would it be like to make my own music and to follow that? Dorothy, as we're closing, maybe a sentence or two to close our conversation from you.
Thank you. Yes, be as generous to others, including the ones who you find either daunting, scary, who you would tend to give your power to them, be generous to them. You can find enormous resources of your own beauty and strength that they will appreciate. They don't want to close you down. People generally do not want to close you down, but they're often unaware of how much their presence kind of can close you. So take it on you to show them that you're okay. You actually can partner with them wherever they are on the spectrum.
Beautiful. You can partner with them. Give it your all. And I will take with me from this conversation also, when you notice outside some resistance, be curious and be with it. Be with it. Completely be with it. Do not shrink in the face of resistance. Give more. Thank you so much, Dorothy. It was such a blessing to be with you. If you enjoyed this conversation with Dorothy Lawson, check her out. She is on the internet in all kinds of places, including on LinkedIn. You can check out her beautiful quartet, the ETHEL string quartet. And of course, if you like this podcast, you can listen to us, Rooted and Unwavering, wherever you get your podcast. You have been listening to Rooted and Unwavering. I am your host, Hylke Faber. See you next time.
Thank you for joining us in today's episode of Rooted and Unwavering, leadership conversations about courageous connectedness, presented by the leadership development company, Growth Leaders Network. To learn more, subscribe to this podcast, connect with Growth Leaders Network and Hylke Faber on LinkedIn, or read Hylke's award-winning book, Taming Your Crocodiles. Now take a moment and appreciate something that is great about you. Celebrate the gift that you are and enjoy connecting more deeply to your best self today. See you next time on Rooted and Unwavering.